Guys, it is the best time of the year. The NBA playoffs are officially here. They start tomorrow. So if you love basketball, the NBA, and sports in general, this is one of the best times of the year. And I cannot wait for the playoffs to kick off tomorrow. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the bracket for the first round of playoffs. We're going to see which teams are going up against each other. And I'm going to make my predictions on the first round, who I think is going to win and why, and just what I expect to happen in the first round series. And I'm going to also try to pick in how many games the team is going to win. So, amazing time of the year, NBA playoffs. I'm so excited. Before we jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Also, hit that like button and make some comments on the first round and who you think is going to win in each series. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. NBA playoffs, first round predictions. All right, so let's go ahead and first take a look at the Western Conference and take a look at the matchups in the first round. So it's going to be number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder versus the number eight seed, which is either going to be Golden State Warriors or the Phoenix Suns. The next one is the four seed versus the five seed Los Angeles Lakers versus Houston Rockets. After that, number three seed versus number six seed Denver Nuggets versus Minnesota Timberwolves. And then it's going to be the number two seed versus the number seven seed San Antonio Spurs versus the Portland Trailblazers. So a lot of great matchups in the West. The Western Conference for a lot of years now has been the better conference of the two. And that is also the case this year as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it and talk about the first series. So Oklahoma City Thunder, they're the number one seed in the West. They have been the best team in the Western Conference and in the NBA as a whole. And they're going to either play the Golden State Warriors or the Phoenix Suns. And we still have that play-in game to happen today to see who's going to be the eighth seed to go up against the Thunder. But it really doesn't matter who's going to go up against the Thunder. They don't really have a chance at all. Again, OKC has been the best team this whole year. They're the defending champs. They're the most impressive team that I've seen this year. So I definitely am going to pick the Oklahoma City Thunder with SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and the other guys to beat the number eight seed, whether it's Golden State Warriors or Phoenix Suns. Um, this should be a sweep, honestly. So I think the OKC is going to win 4-0. It might be a five-game series where OKC takes their foot off the gas for one game and the other team might take advantage. But this should be a four, maximum five-game series. SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, they should have a very good series. The Warriors don't have a chance, even with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the Suns. They only really have Devin Booker. So easy first round for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Should be a sweep, maximum 5 game series, gentlemen sweep. So no big surprise there. The next series is the one that's the most interesting to me and the one that I'm going to be watching the most. My Los Angeles Lakers, number 4 seed, going up against the number 5 seed Houston Rockets. So this should be a pretty good series. We all know Luka Doncic is out, Austin Reeves is out. To begin this series, we don't know when they're going to come back, if they're going to come back. So this is going to be a tough series to predict just because of those injuries. Um, I think if the two guys don't play, Doncic and Reeves, the Rockets are a better team. So I would expect the Rockets to win the series if Doncic and Reeves are out the whole series. But my expectation is that they will be back at some point. So hopefully the Lakers and LeBron can keep the series close in the first couple of games. Maybe the first 3 games, it can be 1-2, 2 wins for the Rockets, one for the Lakers, and then Reeves and Doncic come back and make it a lot more interesting series. So my expectation and prediction for this series is that Doncic and Reeves will come back at some point in the middle of the series, and I'm going to predict that the Los Angeles Lakers win the series in 7 games. In the first few games, they should be down, but Reeves and Doncic come back in the middle at some point, make it a 7 game series, and the Lakers get out of the first round with a win over the Houston Rockets. And it'll be interesting to see if LeBron, at his age 41, can put the Superman cape back on and get a win or two in the first few games of the series. That'll be really interesting to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happens. And then he's going to get some help later in the series. So that's kind of what I'm hoping happens. Um, Houston Rockets, very tough team with Şengün, Kevin Durant. So they're going to be, I think, a tough matchup with or without the Lakers' injuries. But I'm going to be hopeful, and let's go Lakers. All right. So in the next round or in the next series, it's going to be the number 3 seed Denver Nuggets versus the number 6 seed and Minnesota Timberwolves. So we have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon of the Nuggets, a very, very dangerous trio going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, and others. So this is going to be a good series as well. I do think that the Denver Nuggets are just a better overall team. That trio of Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon, they're one of the best trios in the NBA. Very, very dangerous, very, very explosive. They've played together for a lot of years. So I just think the Denver Nuggets are a better team than the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I expect the Denver Nuggets to win this series. It'll be interesting to watch Anthony Edwards if he plays really well in this series, if he steps his game up even more. He's compared to Michael Jordan a lot of times. Um, so this is his opportunity to make a name for himself even more. And he does play usually pretty well in the playoffs. But if he's able to take down Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon in this series, I would definitely be very impressed. And if that happens, that would happen because Anthony Edwards is having an amazing series and playing really well. He's going to need the other guys to step up and help him out. But I don't think they're going to have enough firepower against the Nuggets. So in this game, my expectation is that the Nuggets will win in 5 or 6 games. I expect Minnesota to get a game or two at some point, with maybe a monster game again by Anthony Edwards. But the Denver Nuggets are my pick to win this series in 5 or 6 games. And in the next series, it's going to be the San Antonio Spurs, number 2 seed, versus Portland Trailblazers, number 7 seed. So this is going to be a cool series to watch as well. Victor Wembanyama, who most likely will be the MVP runner-up this season to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's just having an amazing season. And he's going to have De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle to help him out. And they're going to go up against the Portland Trailblazers, who have a young star in Denny Avdia. So it'll just be a cool matchup to watch the two young stars, Wemby, go up against Avdia and just see what that looks like. And these are two of the younger teams in the NBA. So we'll see how they perform in the playoffs. If their lack of experience is a factor, we should see that. But in this one, I expect the Spurs to win the series. I would say probably in 5 games. The Trailblazers might get a game with Avdia at home having a really good game, but I expect Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and the Spurs to win this game to win this series in 5 games, and we'll see what the Spurs look like. Again, they don't have a lot of playoff experience at all, so just to get a first playoff series under their belt, I think is going to be really good for them. If they lose a game or two, the Spurs, that might be good for them as well, just to kind of taste a little adversity and failure in the playoffs and to see how they bounce back and how they recover. So I just think it's going to be a very beneficial series for the Spurs. They should have this one in 5 games. So therefore, the teams that I expect to move on and play each other in the conference semifinals, I expect the OKC Thunder to move on, the Lakers to move on. So my prediction is that those two teams will face off in the next round. And I expect the Denver Nuggets to move on and the San Antonio Spurs to move on and face each other in the conference semifinals. So those are my predictions for the Western Conference. We shall see what happens. And I'll be definitely watching and rooting for the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over to the Eastern Conference and take a look at the matchups in the first round in the East. So we're going to have the number 1 seed, Detroit Pistons, go up against the 8 seed, either the Charlotte Hornets or the Orlando Magic. That play-in game is to happen today. In the next series, it's going to be the number 4 seed Cleveland Cavaliers versus the number 5 seed Toronto Raptors, followed by a series between the number 3 seed New York Knicks and the number 6 seed Atlanta Hawks. And finally, it's going to be the number 2 seed Boston Celtics versus the number 7 seed the Philadelphia 76ers. So some pretty interesting and cool matchups in the East, but not as interesting as the matchups in the West. And it's been like that again for a lot of years now, where the East is just not as good and as entertaining as the Western Conference, but still pretty good. So let's go take a look at each series and make some predictions. So again, number 1, Detroit Pistons versus number 8 seed, either Charlotte Hornets or Orlando Magic. The Pistons have been the best team in the East all year, with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren being their 2 best players. And Cade Cunningham was injured for a good portion of the season with a collapsed lung. And even with that, the Detroit Pistons were able to hold on to the number 1 seed in the East. And they should easily beat the number 8 seed, whether it's the Hornets or the Orlando Magic. And this game should be a 4, maximum 5-game series. So a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. And I definitely expect the Detroit Pistons to move on. In the next series, number 4, Cleveland Cavaliers versus number 5, the Toronto Raptors. So in this one, I do think the Cavs are a better team. They have Donovan Mitchell. They have Evan Mobley. They recently acquired James Harden. So I think they're just a better roster than the Toronto Raptors. And I think Donovan Mitchell is going to have a really good series. He's one of the most athletic guards in the NBA. I love to watch him play, love to watch him dunk on other guys. So the Cavs should definitely win the series. For the Toronto Raptors, honestly, I'm not even sure who plays for them, but they were able to get the 5 seed in the East, which is pretty good. But I just think the talent level on the Cavs is going to be too much. So I expect the Cavs to win this series in 4 or 5 games and move on to the next round. The next series is going to be very interesting. Number 3 seed New York Knicks versus the number 6 seed Atlanta Hawks. So the Knicks have a really good roster with Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and other guys. So I definitely like the Knicks roster. I like their head coach, Mike Brown. And I think the Knicks are going to have a really good series. But for the Atlanta Hawks, they've had a really good end of the regular season. They've had one of the best winning percentages in the last several weeks of the regular season. They have a few young stars on their team. So I think the Hawks will definitely make this series very interesting, but the Knicks should be fine. They should win this series, I would say 5, possibly 6 games. I think the Hawks are going to get a game or 2, and I expect the Knicks to move on. The final matchup is going to be the Boston Celtics, number 2 seed, versus the 7 seed Philadelphia 76ers. The Boston Celtics are having an amazing season. They're very, very impressive. Jaylen Brown has been holding down the fort for them the whole season. Recently, Jason Tatum, their other superstar, came back, and he's definitely gotten back into the groove, and he's playing well. But the Boston Celtics are just a very well run machine. Even if those two guys weren't in the lineup, the Boston Celtics will still be very good. Um, they have a really good young head coach, and they just play basketball the right way. They have a lot of other guys that help out, like Derek White. He's awesome. Their head coach, Joe Mazzulla, like I said, is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So the Boston Celtics, very, very dangerous. We'll see what Jason Tatum looks like in the actual playoffs. Um, but yeah, I definitely would not want to play the Boston Celtics. The 76ers, they're also having a pretty good season with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. Unfortunately, their biggest star, Joel Embiid, got an injury or a medical situation, and he's not going to be able to play. We'll see if he comes back at any point in the series. If he does, the 76ers definitely are going to be a tough out, but I don't think he's coming back in this series. So I expect the Boston Celtics to win this series in 5 to 6 games. The Sixers might get a game, maximum two, if Embiid comes back, which I don't expect. So I think the first round matchups in the East are going to be pretty easy to predict. So I don't expect any big surprises in this one. So therefore, in the next round in the conference semifinals, I expect the Detroit Pistons to play the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I expect the New York Knicks to play the Boston Celtics. So we'll see what happens there when we get to the next round, to the conference semifinals. We're going to make those predictions at that time. But in the East, I'm really not sure who I'm going to root for in the East. But, I definitely would want to see the Knicks make the finals, or also the Boston Celtics would be a great story with Jason Tatum coming back if they make the finals. So we'll see what that looks like once we get there. But those are my predictions for NBA playoffs first round. All right, guys, that is all I wanted to share in this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got some value out of the content, and I hope you guys are excited about the NBA playoffs as much as I am. If you guys did find some value in this video, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Hit that like button and make some comments on your predictions for NBA playoffs first round. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.